He has served one term as the state's lieutenant governor and was a 2010 Democratic primary challenger to then Senator Blanche Lincoln, known as the father of the Arkansas Scholarship Lottery. I'm joined in studio by Bill Halter, a 2014 candidate for Arkansas governor. Welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Roby, thanks very much. Great to see you.
Good to see you. So why are you running for governor? Why are you not running for the U.S. Senate? Why are you not running for Congress? What's the appeal, the allure of governor in this particular cycle?
Well, I think that the state of Arkansas has a great number of issues in front of it. We've made some good progress, but from the governor's position, you are, I think, best positioned to advance the state. And for the last 30 years, I've been concerned about education and economic development in Arkansas, and we have some ideas that we're going to put out there about how to advance that. Roby, all my life, Arkansas has been either 48th or 49th in almost everything that matters. We're beginning to make some good progress, but we have a ways to go, and it's going to take leadership and I think new ideas to help advance us.
I know you're going to tell me that the response to your announcement has been overwhelming. Every politician tells me the response has been overwhelming.
Right.
So I have typically noticed that the person who raises the most money does pretty well. I go back to your 2010 race, very competitive with you and Senator Lincoln.
Right.
Are you going to report $1 million on your first campaign finance report?
I tell you what, Roby, I'm going to hold off until April 15th when that finance report is due. Let me just say that I have been gratified by the response that I've received from previous donors and new donors. But more importantly, I've been gratified by the response of volunteers all over the state of Arkansas. You know this as a guy who's been involved in campaigns before, how difficult it is, particularly early on, to have people volunteer for your campaign. And so I'm happy to tell you that we have over 400 volunteers all over the state who have already said, you know, we're in and we'd like to help. Now, look, fundraising is obviously important, but we'll leave that story for another day.
You can tell me if it's going well or not. How
it's
about
going
that?
well.
Okay. You've been a supporter of the Regnant Populace effort to reform state ethics.
Yes.
One of the provisions of that initiative is that it would eliminate contributions from corporations or unions. Are you going to abide by that rule in this campaign, even though it's not the law of the land?
Well, no, here's the deal. When you're in a competitive race, when you're in an athletic competition, you operate under the rules of the game at the time. Now, I would like to see those rules changed, but I owe it to my supporters and I owe it to running the best possible campaign to abide by the rules as they exist. And that's what we're going to do. So we will be very aggressive within the current rules. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I'd like to see those rules changed.
All right. Supporters say you're a maverick in the political process. Some say you're too liberal. You and I have discussed some areas where you consider yourself very conservative,
Right.
and there's obviously room for moderation in politics.
Right.
We've got a graphic here on this I want to pull up here. Daily Coast, popular national left-of-center blog, says this about your 2014 governor's bid. This should be a race that progressives should be very excited about. Halter is a true progressive Democrat who was bold enough to stand up for gay rights in the state of Arkansas and was despised by the political establishment. Who or what is this political establishment, and why do they despise
Well,
you?
let me just say this. I don't know who they're referring to, and I'm unaware of being despised by whoever that is. But let me say this. Look, all this stuff is kind of fun in its own way. Now, I think it is fair to say that the folks who are ingrained in the political process and have a stake in it and don't want to see things changed, they're not likely to be the folks who are going to rally to my campaign. But for those folks who'd like to see education improve in the state of Arkansas, for those folks who'd like to see new ideas, for those folks who'd like to see a businessman bring a businessman's perspective to government, I think I'm going to do pretty well among those audiences. And for the people who are going to really resonate with new ideas, I think we're going to do very well.
Tell me how you self-describe your politics.
Oh, well, look, it doesn't have a one-word label. If there is a one-word label, that the first one I would reach for is Arkansan. The next one I would reach for is American. Maybe if you want to go to a third, say pragmatist, problem solver. You know, my experience in public and private organizations is actually getting things done, and sometimes very difficult things. And that's what we need to do in Arkansas. We've got some difficult things that will pay off very well, but we need to get them done. Now, in terms of liberal, moderate, progressive, conservative, all that stuff, it varies by the issue. I will match my record of fiscal responsibility with any person that's considering running for governor. Look, I was part of a team that balanced the federal budget for the first time in 30 years, and perhaps the last time in 30 years. I would say that as the leader, the chief operating officer of Social Security, we cut expenses while at the same time delivering better service. Now, I've been on the board of directors of 10 private sector high-tech companies. I doubt anybody in that boardroom would be using a label like liberal or moderate or conservative. You don't talk in those terms in a corporate boardroom. When you're trying to get a business established, you talk about what works. You talk about investing. You talk about what's going to be successful for the company. You talk about meeting a bottom line. So all of this stuff, I mean, look, there's no person that I know that could be appropriately summarized in a one-word label, and I just reject the idea of doing it.
All right. Let's talk about a couple of issues at the legislature right now. As governor, would you have signed or vetoed the abortion measures that passed?
Look, your constitutional responsibility, if you're told that the bills are unconstitutional, your responsibility is to veto them and to say to anybody that'll listen, these measures are going to be overturned in court. You know, the only oath that you swear as a governor when you're inaugurated, it's an oath I've taken at least twice in my life, once leading the Social Security Administration, another time as Lieutenant Governor. You raise your right hand, you put your left hand on the Bible, and you swear to uphold the Constitution of the state of Arkansas and the Constitution of the United States. And if you're informed that a bill is unconstitutional, you have no choice. You have to oppose it.
All right. The discussion right now at the state capitol is to move Medicaid expansion dollars into the health insurance exchanges as a private option. Yeah. Are you pleased with the direction that debate has taken?
Let me say this. What I am pleased by is that the probability of Arkansas getting a massive infusion of federal dollars to advance health care for our citizens looks like that the probability of that happening is increasing. Keep in mind, when the legislative session started, given that 75% requirement that's in both houses to enact this, there was real doubt about whether that was going to happen. And what would have happened if, and still would happen, if Arkansas rejects this opportunity, you would have Arkansas taxpayers paying their federal tax dollars to provide health care for citizens of other states while not getting access to that health care for Arkansans. That just makes no sense.
60 seconds here. A variety of tax cut measures on the table. We got capital gains tax cuts. We got the governor's grocery tax reduction. You've got some small business targeted taxes, and then you've got income tax bracket reform. Do you have a preference on any of those?
Look, I would say this, that what we need to be doing with tax policy is what we need to be doing across the board with policy in the state of Arkansas. That is to do the maximum amount that we can after funding the needs of the government, because we have a balanced budget requirement. We need to do the maximum amount we can to provide people with incentives for job growth, and we also need to make sure that those taxes are fair, that middle-income Arkansans don't wind up unfairly handling the burden of taxation.
I'd like to dive into that a little bit deeper. We got to take a commercial break here. After this break, Bill Halter is going to make his first major public policy proposal of the campaign. That's if he'll stick around. We'll discuss it in depth after this word from our sponsors. I'm Roby Brock. This is Talk Business.
One of the real advantages of electric cooperatives membership is having a voice in our state's energy future.
Not a week goes by without important energy issues making headlines. These are issues that need to be discussed. And you should know that as policies are being developed, the cooperatives are looking out for our members, advocating what's best for you.
We are your friends and neighbors.
We are your local electric company.
The Electric Cooperatives.
We are Arkansas.
My guest is Bill Halter, candidate for governor in 2014. Tomorrow, you are planning a major policy announcement. You're giving us a preview here tonight. Yes. It is called the Arkansas Promise. What is this plan? What does it do?
The Arkansas Promise is modeled on the El Dorado Promise and the Arkadelphia Promise. And what it says is that if you are a high school student in Arkansas, you graduate with a 2.5 grade point average and go to an Arkansas college, we will put together a scholarship for you that is equal to the tuition cost at the highest cost public four-year college in Arkansas, which is now the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. And we will put that money together from the lottery scholarship, from federal grants, from additional philanthropic aid, and then a new scholarship, which is the Arkansas Promise. So the idea is that if you graduate from an Arkansas high school with a 2.5 GPA, we will provide the resources so that you can go to college tuition free.
Let's talk numbers on this.
Sure.
So how much does this cost, and where does the different, you mentioned some of the revenue streams there, but give me the equation.
So basically we're bringing together the lottery revenue stream, which already exists, some funding that already exists for scholarships in the general revenue budget, federal Pell Grants and other federal aid, and an additional scholarship which we are calling the Arkansas Promise. You can blend all that together so that you can say to every student in Arkansas, we are going to make sure that you have the resources to pay for full tuition at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. It's similar to something that already exists in Arkadelphia. This program in Arkadelphia is already existing, and of course the El Dorado Promise, which has been fabulously successful, was the initial Arkansas model for these programs. Now El Dorado was modeled actually on Kalamazoo, Michigan, but this is an ability to go out and to say to Arkansas families and Arkansas students, if you work hard and you play by the rules and you're responsible, we're going to be there to give you the tools to compete in the 21st century economy.
So do the numbers come from the lottery net proceeds?
Yes.
The general revenue budget?
The $20 million that is already allocated to the Academic Challenge Scholarship from general revenues. But in addition, we will need to find an additional $50 to $75 million in the general revenue budget, or we'll need to find some of that through philanthropy. See, the El Dorado Promise and the Arkadelphia Promise, of course, have a significant component that's philanthropy.
So any tax proposal to fund that?
No. Let me be clear about that. We are not proposing to raise taxes to fund this program, and in fact, we won't be raising taxes to do this. Period, full stop, end of story. We're taking that issue off the table. But what you need to know about the general revenue budget, Roby, is that this year it's about $5 billion. So let's say that we need $50 million of state proceeds to incrementally to fund this program. That's 1% of the general revenue budget. That's 1 penny on the dollar that's there. There have been a number of initiatives that have been enacted in the past few years that have required $100 million or more of general revenue in order to fund them. For example, Governor Beebe has pushed for a reduction in the sales tax on groceries. That has clearly cost more than $100 million out of general revenue. There are proposals at the legislature right now, as you know, to cut taxes by $100 to $150 million a year. So in the context of the budget, this is doable. I would also say to you that my private sector experience is such that when you're working on a company's budget and you're retooling and you're increasing efficiency, you don't target 1%. You target 10 or 20%. And I think that when you bring that kind of rigor to any enterprise, whether it's a state government, a federal government agency, or a big company, that you can always improve. Technology is continuously evolving. There are ways to do better with less.
Should there be a payback provision?
I've seen this one payback provision that a particular representative is proposing, where if you drop out of school, you have to pay back the lottery scholarship. No, that's not the point. The point is to get these students into school, to help them. If you have a payback provision, you're not talking about a scholarship, you're talking about a loan.
All right. He is Bill Halter. He's a Democratic candidate for governor in 2014. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome back anytime. We'll talk about some other things.